Hey everyone, I'm Rachel.
And I'm David.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to work from a cruise ship? Join us as we give you our top 5 tips and tricks on how to make the most out of your office on the high seas.
Let's go!
We love to cruise no matter the destination, and sometimes that means taking a working vacation from a cruise ship.
But there are some pretty important considerations when thinking about taking your work with you on a cruise, so we wanted to share our top 5 tips.
Tip number 1 is to know the details about your specific ship and cruise line before you board. These details include Wi-Fi speeds, if you're traveling near any areas that your work might restrict traffic from, and if there are different tiers of Wi-Fi available. I cannot express enough how important this is. You should always search for information on your cruise line and specific ship's Wi-Fi before you book. Even if you don't typically do a lot of planning before your vacations, this is a step you should not skip. That's because not all ships are created equal as far as speed, or even where Wi-Fi is available. We have had so many different experiences on ships, even within the same cruise line.
Sometimes the Wi-Fi is great every day of a trip and in every spot around the ship. But we've also had some cruises where the coverage was awful on sea days and we could only get Wi-Fi in public areas and not in our stateroom at all. We experienced this on our recent Norwegian cruise. Sometimes a website would take 3 or 4 refreshes to load, or it just wouldn't load at all in our stateroom. We've also had the Wi-Fi dip in and out on some of the older Princess cruise ships. You really should look around Google, Reddit, and some of the cruise forums for information about your specific ship and location before considering working on a vacation.
You also need to understand if your work restricts traffic from certain countries or regions. For instance, mine restricts work from Cuba, so certain websites or applications I use may get blocked at certain times when we're sailing through the Caribbean, even though I'm not actually docking in Cuba.
You should understand the speed of Wi-Fi that you will need, since some cruise lines offer multiple tiers of Wi-Fi coverage. Some offer streaming packages that should allow you to make video calls, but other plans may only allow email and social media browsing. And also keep in mind that even if they offer streaming packages, you might still not be able to stream or be on camera. For instance, on our most recent Norwegian cruise on the Gem, we could barely connect to video calls. We did several speed tests on the streaming Wi-Fi package and got anywhere from 4 to 6 megabits per second. For comparison, my mobile phone's hotspot runs at over 20 megabits per second.
Now on to tip number 2. Be prepared for the price tag for Wi-Fi. Most cruise lines still don't include Wi-Fi with your cruise fare, and it is generally pretty expensive when you compare the fact that hotels usually include it.
Even if the cruise line does include Wi-Fi, it is typically the lowest speed option. This may only allow for checking emails and messaging, but not so much for calls or more intensive programs you might need for work.
If the cruise line has multiple levels of Wi-Fi, the pricing could get pretty high depending on what you need. For instance, Princess charges $25 per day for a single device, or $45 a day for 4 devices shared between your cabin, but they only offer one speed. Their Wi-Fi reliability varies depending on the age of the ship, but for the most part, we've been able to stream and join video calls. In contrast, Norwegian charges $30 a day for normal Wi-Fi and $40 a day for upgraded streaming Wi-Fi, which in our experience was not fast enough to stream on most of the time. You can also buy a chunk of minutes at an even higher price.
It's also worth checking to see if your status with the cruise line can get you a discount on Wi-Fi. With Princess, Platinum and Elite members get 50% off. They also include Wi-Fi with their packages like Princess Plus or Premier. Some cruise lines like Norwegian offer pay-by-the-hour Wi-Fi included with some of their cruise fares. They also offer discounts on Wi-Fi for their more traveled guests.
Depending on your work needs, you might need to purchase Wi-Fi for multiple devices. If you have multiple laptops or need 2-factor authentication, you might have to opt for the multi-device option. However, if you only need to use one device at a time, a single device plan might still work for you. Princess, Carnival, and Norwegian all let you switch which device you're connected to from the login page, which means I'm able to switch back and forth from my phone to my laptop within a few seconds. Each cruise line treats multiple devices differently, so do your research before you get on board.
Tip number 3 is to communicate. It is very important to let your stateroom steward know that you will be working during your trip. The stewards work super hard on cruises and are generally very accommodating, so giving them a heads up could mean avoiding disruptions during your meetings. It also ensures that they are not hanging around waiting for you to leave your room before they can go on a break.
Always utilize Do Not Disturb placards in your stateroom when available. On Princess, you can set your room to Do Not Disturb on your TV or on the medallion placard outside your door. This easily lets your stateroom steward know when you're busy. You can then turn on the service stateroom feature when you're leaving for dinner or some activities, so they'll know when they're in the clear. On Norwegian cruise lines, you can turn the wheel outside your door to Do Not Disturb and then back to Makeup Cabin when you're ready to leave. Also, make sure to let people you work with know that your coverage may be spotty. You don't want to risk missing important messages or calls because you're in unreliable coverage.
Tip number 4 is to know your schedule. This is really the only way to work while still getting the most out of your vacation. That includes understanding potential time zone changes before you cruise. Your work schedule may need to update if your ship changes time zones. Your ship's time does not always equal the time it is on shore, or even in some of the ports you visit. Obviously, one of the key reasons to take cruises is to travel to different places. If you have ports you're really excited about, make sure you understand the arrival and departure timing and schedule your work around that, or even take sporadic days off.
Be aware that if you purchase excursions pre-cruise, there's always a chance the timing of those shifts before the port day. Be prepared to reschedule some things or miss your excursion if that happens. Some cruise lines, including Princess, let you check activities on your cruise app ahead of time. This is extremely useful when planning work so you know if there's a show, trivia, or other activity that you don't want to miss. And tip number 5 is be flexible. At the end of the day, you're choosing to take a working vacation. This choice means you need to go into it with an open, flexible mind and the ability to reschedule meetings or tasks, and likely work some off hours.
We sometimes take a lunch and go to a trivia or a game show and then catch up at night when we are winding down for bed. You should be willing and able to work from some of the common spaces when your steward needs to clean your room, or just live without cleaning if you're busy all day. But be aware, if you want to work outside of your stateroom and you're from the US, you may need to bring an international plug since most of the plugs in common areas are European outlets.
There you have it, our top 5 tips for working from a cruise ship. Here they are again as a recap. Number 1, know Wi-Fi specifics about your cruise line and ship before you board. Number 2, be prepared for the price tag. Number 3, communicate. Number 4, know your schedule. And number 5, be flexible.
Thanks for joining us as we work from the open seas this week. The Wi-Fi wasn't always perfect, but it did get the job done. And I even had a snafu with my work's network that I've never encountered before. But I had to use a hotspot from Javid's computer and my phone. And using those things, I was still able to get everything done that I needed to do. Also, I want to shout out to our amazing stateroom steward, who was so accommodating and never bothered us when we were busy.
Yeah, he was amazing. The important thing to remember is that cruise ship internet has gotten way faster and way more reliable over the last few years. So it is really reasonable to be able to work from a cruise ship. I think it's important to be flexible though. So understand that it might have outages, you might not be online in time, you might not be able to use your webcam in meetings, things like that are really important to keep in mind. And just make sure people know that you might be, all over the place a little bit. And also it's really important to keep track of the time zone changes. Your meetings might not update on your computer or your phone. So just keep those kind of things in mind.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know your tips and experiences working on a cruise ship in the comments below. Also, if you did enjoy this video and want to see more travel content from us, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. But for now, I'm Rachel.
And I'm David.
And we hope this video helped you find the right direction for your next adventure. Bye!